So this guy says to me, I love everything about my wife. I said, that is so interesting. Because I just spoke to your wife and she wants a divorce. So why would that be? You love everything about her? He says, yes. I said, do you love her? He said, I just told you, I love everything about her. Do you love her? He says, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you take away all things, what's left? What's to love? This is the critical, dangerous condition that our thinking, our philosophy of life, our way of life is going to make us extinct. If you take away all things, what's left? It's what everybody says. Why can't you just love me for me? Love me for what I am. I would if I knew what you am. What am you? Ask somebody that. Do you love me the way I am? For who I am? I said, tell me, who am you? They don't know. Nobody has an answer to that question. Now they use words like, for my essence, for the real me, for my soul. Now, if I loved your soul, you'd be very upset. Oh, my soul you love. What about me? Who is the me? Who is it that wants to be loved? Who is this me that is crying? We don't know, because we've become too materialistic. How many times you hear people say, I don't know what's wrong with my husband, he's just not happy. I don't know what's wrong with my wife, no matter what I do, she's not. So you go for therapy and you get all tangled up into childhood trauma, you're not being validated. It's not helping. Now, we do know that there is a me, and in fact, you've experienced. The wife is out of town. The husband says, I miss her. I say, what do you miss? I say, I miss her. Yeah, well, what do you miss about her? All of a sudden, that's not a good question. She's not here. I miss her. Well, what do you miss about her? Nothing. But she's not here. I miss her. So you do know what her is. The sad thing is, as soon as her comes home, it immediately becomes about something. Oh, good, you're home. Now you can. If we can get a good definition, our lives can be vastly improved. Who is crying? Everyone is upset. Everyone is hurt. There's pain and agony. Nobody sees me. Nobody accepts me. Everybody wants something from me. The result is that you feel alone in the world. If nobody knows the real you, if nobody accepts the real you, then the real you is completely alone in the world. And that is not a good feeling. All the experts are now saying, Finally, the biggest crisis in our generation is loneliness. And that invites all sorts of other problems. What do you do when you're desperately lonely? Get yourself into trouble. That's what you do. You mess up your life. Let's see if we can get a definition. God created the world. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. What's the first question we should ask? The first fundamental question is, God is perfect, God is eternal, God is infinite, God is all-knowing and all-powerful. What in the world would he create a world for? What could he possibly gain by creating a world? Except complaints. He creates the world, he's the landlord. What does a landlord get? Complaints. Why would he create? Now people say, well, that's a profound question. How can we possibly know? These are deep thoughts. You got to study Kabbalah or something, and even then you're not going to know the answer. No. Very, very simple. In the beginning, there was nothing but God, who was infinite, eternal, and perfect. What's he missing? What's he missing? Let me say this again. In the beginning, there was only God, who was infinite, eternal, and perfect. What's missing?
He was alone.
Huh?
He was alone with himself.
See, I just told you what was missing. There was only him. We think that's a compliment. We're complimenting God. Before there was anything, there was him. How would you like to be God? You're perfect, you're eternal, and you're infinite. It's horrible. No? Like, what do you say to somebody who is perfect, eternal, and infinite? What's new? Nothing. What's happening? Nothing. What are you doing this weekend? Nothing. I am the way I am, and nothing will ever change. I am perfect. See, perfect and nothing are synonyms. They mean the same thing. If you're perfect, nothing is going on. Nothing is going on. Now, is that terrible?
It's boring.
Huh?
It's boring.
Why? What is this thing called boring? I am so perfect, I don't need to breathe. I don't need to move. I don't need to think. I am perfect. That's boring? There is something divine, completely mysterious to the human being. A human being who is perfectly content. Because what could be more perfect? But because we are created in God's image, we inherited from him this weird hang-up. Being just me is not enough. Why? What are you missing? Nothing. So what's your problem? There's just me. Yeah, but you're perfect and good and great. Yeah, but there's just me. If you were God, you would find yourself unhappy and unsatisfied being who you are. Being perfect is not enough. Isn't that amazing? So you're perfect. So what? So what? So if you're asking, why would God create the world? You see, what you're actually saying is, so what? If you create the world, you're looking for something. You're going for something. What? You're already perfect. So the simple answer, God is perfect because he's lacking nothing, but he is divinely romantic because he's missing someone. To be perfect, you have to be complete in all things. That doesn't make you a nice guy, because there's just you. Intimacy is the feeling, just me. I'm great, I know. In fact, I'm perfect. I know. So what? Where's content? Where is meaning? Where is substance? Where is goodness? When you are perfect and alone, there is no goodness. So perfect is not a compliment. Perfect is a predicament. You get married because you're perfect. Not because you don't know how to cook or parallel park. Not even because you can't have a baby by yourself. You get married because being perfect is not good. Oh, wait a minute. God actually said that. It's not good to be alone. Why did he say that? Because if he hadn't said it, we would be perfectly content to be alone as human beings. So the discontent with being alone is a godly gift. We're mirroring God. He, for no known reason, does not feel content to be alone, as perfect as he is. We have that same instinct from him. That's why marriage is a magical, mystical, godly idea. If you don't feel that lack, then don't get married. And it's not loneliness. You know the line from that famous song I'm talking about? Piano Man. They're sharing a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. Brilliant. There's a difference between lonely and alone. People say, you know, you're feeling lonely and you got to do something. You go to a nightclub and you party, and you're not lonely for the moment. But then you come home and you realize you're still lonely. No. You come home and you realize you're alone. Worse. You feel worse because you just did something about loneliness, and now you realize there's nothing you can do about being alone. Loneliness you can share. Lonely people get together and they make each other feel good. But alone, there's nothing. Marriage is the cure to perfect aloneness. Is it making any sense? Or? Perfect aloneness, which we could think is a wonderful, admirable, enviable thing. It's terrible. In many ways, in our generation, we are more perfect than ever. We are much more perfect than our grandparents, our great-grandparents. They had nothing. We have everything. They married each other because they were looking for intimacy. Did they share a lot of common interests? No. Did they love everything about each other? Absolutely not. They didn't agree on anything. And so they spent 80 wonderful years bickering endlessly. We're doing the opposite. We have everything. We only marry people we love and have a lot in common. Walks in the rain and pina colada. So we marry everything about each other. We just don't marry each other. So for them, the grandparents, divorce was like, are you out of your mind? Not have each other? Yeah, but you're constantly fighting. We're fighting about things, not fighting about each other. We love everything about each other, but as soon as we see the other, I'm out of here. Now we might be able to appreciate a definition. Who is this other who is crying for recognition? God created the world so that there would be an other. So he's not the only one. But you know, after he created angels, he should have been content. He created angels, and now he's not alone. The problem is, angels don't have free choice. So they're not someone other, they're just more of him. If you marry your clone, you're still alone. You're married to yourself. To marry someone other means other opinion, other needs, other feelings, other personality. So what does it mean? Why can't you accept me as I am? How am you? Why can't you accept me for not being you? Because if I can accept you for not being me, then I have someone other than me in me. But if I insist that you have to be like me, or like my mother, why can't you be like my mother? If I insist that you match me, you fit with me, you synchronize. In other words, I don't want the part of you that is not me. That's the part that cries. Every person, being an independent person, cries because nobody likes me being not them. But who else could I be? So why doesn't anybody love me for not being like them? God loves us because we're not like him. We have our own free will, our own embarrassing needs, feeble minds, but it's our own. And that's why he was not content with the angels. He created human beings with freedom of choice. Now there is someone. So when, for example, the wife says, my husband's a good man. We like things together, do things, we go places. I don't think he's really there for me. And again, this frustrating question. What do you mean by me? I bought you everything you asked for. Yeah, but are you there for me? You're just making me crazy. What is that me? The me is the part of me that can't be you. Do you love that? Do you want that in your life? It's somewhat similar to, do you really want your children to be independent? You really want them to have an opinion that is not yours at all, and you're going to love it? It is not difficult to be the other. In fact, you can't help it, you are the other. So if marriage means I want you in my life, not your love, not your money, not your looks, not your sex. I want you, meaning the part of you that really irritates me. The part of you that I'll never understand and I'll never be able to relate to because you're weird. Just because you're not like me. And that's the part I love. Like a parent who really wants their children to be independent, and the child does something independent that every other parent would be offended and threatened, and these parents say, what a kid. Wow, like that. But here's the thing. Of course, you should be yourself and the other to your spouse. But then how do you blend your lives? That's intimacy. Intimacy means I can, at least for a moment, melt and dissolve into your reality, even though it is not mine. And when you can do that mutually, you experience intimacy. Again, intimacy means the pleasure of not being me. Not the pleasure of filling up the me, perfecting the ego, validating yourself. It's a dead-end street. Eventually, that's it. You can't anymore. The pleasure of intimacy means I have experienced not being me. And not by hallucinating or having a near-death experience. I have for a moment transcended being me because I completely dissolved into you. That kind of pleasure bonds people. Anyone who has had that experience even once in their married lives are bonded forever, and if they should ever separate, it would feel like an amputation. Love does not do that. No matter how much you love each other, it doesn't bond you. It's a condition. The other is tolerable because I'm getting love from the other, and love is my thing. So I'll put up with her being her, or with him being him, as long as I'm getting the thing that is meaningful to me. So whether it's love, or money, or sex. So sex used to be intimate, because it was about melting into the other and becoming bonded. Well, that's a big complication. So in the 60s, we decided no more bonding, sex without bonding, which means no more intimacy. Okay, to sum it all up very briefly, if somebody asks you, what did you talk about last night about house? We spoke about the fact that love and sex are terrible for marriage. And let them figure it out. Love destroys marriages, sex destroys marriage. Because those are things that get in the way between the husband and the wife. If you can remove those things and be perfect, because you need no thing, then you can be intimate. So there is no greater intimacy than God creating us. Because no one is more perfect than him, and no one is more uncontent with being alone than him. We have to imitate God. So step number 1 is become perfect. You have the weekend to do that. After the weekend, when you're perfect, get married to your spouse. But get married, which means move past things into the intimacy where two people can actually become one. How can they become one? Because each of them can't stand being alone.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the 3 suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.